What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another breakdown video, and today we're here to break down this Lions Commanders game. And look, man, I'm coming in here with pretty good energy. All right, I think I got through all the stages of sadness going through this game, honestly, so I'm pretty fired up to do this video and just kind of look at this as like any other week. It stinks that we can't talk about like fixing these things and then what's that going to look like next week and how are they going to adjust and all that stuff. Look at the good, look at the bad, really focus on kind of what went wrong in this game, and I'm sure we'll look at this game again. So I'm going to try to not make this thing super long because I have so many clips that each clip I'm going to try to just get through faster in this video. So with that being said, let's waste no time. But I will say this, actually, I do need to say this. I saw the report, Ben Johnson, Raiders are going to make a hard push to get Ben Johnson, and it sounds like that whole process is probably going to speed up here with Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson now being available. I will say, if my take at all has any kind of effect on this, which I know it doesn't, but if it did, you have my stamp of approval. I'd love to have both these guys back. Man, I want y'all back, man. Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson. I don't want these guys out because we lost this game. And we'll talk through that as we go through today's video, especially Ben Johnson. I thought Ben Johnson had a fantastic offensive game plan, man. The consistency at which we feel like we're a step ahead of everything offensively is crazy. The creativity is unreal. I know there will be like, oh, well, we're too aggressive and that kind of stuff. Look, for me, overall, it always comes down to execution, whatever you're doing offensively. So, yeah, a couple of things went wrong. In hindsight, I'd take them back too. But I loved the game plan overall, man. This was a fantastic game plan for the offense. And we'll go through that as we go through this today. It just so happens that, man, we had so many dang turnovers, and that was a problem. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I thought that we actually got some things right as this game rolled along. I thought we started to figure some things out, especially from a coverage perspective, that the Lions just couldn't stop the run. They couldn't consistently stop the run in this game, and I thought Washington, who was a great rushing team coming in, statistically they were one of the best in football, they lived up to that, but they were also one of the most diverse rushing teams, and that's what stood out when I had watched them, is it's like, okay, they like the outside zone stuff, but man, they can kind of do it all as a rushing team with the quarterback and the athleticism of their offensive line. You put the tight ends in the action. It's like there's a lot here. Then they came out in this game, showed some wide stacks, and I hadn't seen that from any of the games that I went through. So I was like, this is a super unique attack. They used some unbalanced formations against us, unbalanced offensive lines. It was a lot. It was a lot, and that ended up kind of being the issue. The amount of times that you saw on first down they were just running the football was really discouraging, because you're watching it back and you're like, okay, there's things that are working here, but man, you start going through the notes and it's like there's a lot of first down rushing, and we just couldn't find consistency. We needed aggression to get consistency, and I think that when we leaned away from that, clearly we didn't have it, and I think there was a balancing act that we should have leaned more aggressive for the majority of this game. But with that being said, even when we figured things out, there was a couple lapses, there was bad breakdowns in the back end in terms of, you know, whether that was communication, maybe it was missed tackles, there was little things that we didn't do well, and then there would be bad sequences where it's like the majority of what we're doing is working, but then there's that one bad sequence, and it's like when you're in a game where you're already turning the ball over this many times, those kind of things maybe don't become as big of an issue, but because of how the game played out, they became a very big issue. We needed something to go our direction, and we just couldn't constantly get things to go our direction at all defensively to kind of pick up the offense when something went wrong. So all of that, you had a defensive touchdown for Commanders. All of that being said, it was pretty messy. It was pretty messy, and unfortunately, it felt like the Niners game, just in its own unique way. Obviously, we didn't control this game like we did in that one, and it's different players this time around, but there was a lot of that same stuff where it's like, I don't remember seeing that, and here we go, that's an issue. But I do think there was some things that were like, yeah, that was an issue. Like what Buffalo did to us with the gap scheme showed up as an issue. You know, they spread us out, they ran the ball, they pulled offensive linemen, and it became a problem. In this game, that showed up again. So some of it carried over, some of it felt new, but overall, there was just mistakes, and that's the fun with the playoffs, man, is that you can win from those and you can lose from those. And unfortunately, the Lions lost from those. See kind of adjustments as we go through this, but this first play here, get a screen bubble on the play, which is actually set up like a fake screen, but I think this is one of those examples where it's a first down and 10, and coming in, I want to see the Lions be aggressive on first down. That didn't mean necessarily they had a blitz. I want to see aggressive coverage types. I want to see aggressiveness back in the back, and I didn't want to see ease of access. I didn't want to see, hey, we're getting them yards because we're going spot dropping zone. If you watch my preview, I literally said in the preview, spot dropping zone will kill you. I think I said it like that. It was something similar to that. Like, yo, that's going to be a disaster is running spot dropping zone. And they're also not blitzing on this play. And this kind of puts the predicament for Brian Branch, who's kind of playing two guys, waiting to pass it off to Kirby Joseph in a cover 6 look. Villador has to play the vertical. That's his responsibility. And because it's set up like a fake screen, but the ball doesn't go there, and then they continue to go vertical, they kind of have to respect it. The play just goes on way too darn long. The play fake is attached here, but the old line never gets upfield. So it never puts them in a spot where it's like, well, this could be a flag for somebody somebody going downfield because it's taking too long. Like, they never go upfield. It feels like a full designed fake screen pass. So the issue is within the design there, and Washington had some great designs, and this is one of those where they just pick up a chunk and they stay on top of the chains, and that's what they constantly did all game long, which is who they are. They played to exactly who they are, and we saw that play out. Unfortunately, that's how this game played out. Then you get to an aggressive play here defensively. On this second down and short, now going into a Tampa 2 look, but they're blitzing. Now, I didn't have a problem with this. I thought on second and medium, this would have been my approach. I did want that to happen because I wanted the Lions to take away the vertical shots. I felt this is where they were going to try to get their shot plays, and we can get an incomplete pass, we can get them into third and medium, and then we want to live there. Second and 3 is kind of pressing that a little bit, but that being said, that's what the Lions went to, and I liked attaching the blitz to these 2 deep safety looks, and that's what they did. They attached the blitz off it. So the problem is obviously the check down here. And this is just kind of a preview of what's to come. Look at it, you get the underneath pass, and you just notice that out in space, this is playing to who they are. Austin Eckler was top 15 in football in forced missed tackles off a reception, and it played out immediately here. And again, these were the little things that maybe they didn't always pop up, because you look back on the drive, you're like, oh, we got to stop that drive. But man, there was too many of them, and this is just them playing to who they are. They are built of run after catch guys, and the Lions were able to kind of disallow them from that being the case, and you see that early here. Now we get to one of the run plays that the Lions actually did get a stop on. The unfortunate part of so much of this kind of came through the Lions' aggressive nature to find a way to get stops defensively, and this will be the first example of this where defensively you have this outside zone look, and they end up only picking up 1 yard on the play, and it really kind of sets up the ripple effect of the Lions actually get off the field. You know, the whole play, and I had 3 notes of what the Lions need to do to win this game. And I had this on Wednesday, so we were very much so ahead of this. And I think I don't remember even what the third one was, but I know we had first downs can't be efficient, so it had to be 3 yards or less. It didn't mean a sack or a pick or an incomplete. You just couldn't have them be oh, it's easy, it's 2nd and 4 now, there you go. And that's way too often what happened. Unfortunately, I focused more on the coverage side, and it turned into that was the run game. The run game was so efficient for them that we couldn't get to a spot where it was yeah, we're consistently stopping that unless there was aggression there. So I think in general, the Lions just needed to play that aggression early, and here is an example of them getting to it. I don't think they got to it enough, but in a case like this, you get a 1st and 10, it's a 1 yard run. The Lions get aggressive. They bring Brian Branch off the edge. You can see they're sliding their safeties, and then you get a stop. Jack Campbell's able to fill through, get a stop on the play, and the Lions ultimately got off the field within that first drive because of that. And they had them in the 3rd and 14 here, and this again would become an issue. Now, it wasn't an issue here because it set up a 4th and 1. They didn't get it. It actually worked out well for us, but just notice, again, 3rd and long, this time cover 3 blitz. I like that because it speeds up the process of being able to find okay, let's get something vertical. I don't know that this was maybe necessary, and I say that because I don't think that he took all of the opportunities that were there when they were tight window throws on 3rd and long. So I don't know that he was even necessary to make him play the game, where it's just don't let him get to that. You may have been playing with too much fire, being this aggressive, bringing 6 rushers on a 3rd down and 14, but maybe you're trying to kick him out of the field goal range, I guess. He gets the ball out quickly again underneath here, and you miss another tackle. And again, it played out for us, but these were the kind of things, man, that these will become issues when you continue to miss tackles in space. That being said, let's go to the offense, because the offense had a lot of good and unfortunately just a few bad, and it cost them in this game. But one thing we liked coming in was single high safety, because they were a 82% single high team. One-on-one Mike Sainer still. I'm kind of surprised they played that matchup that often, but in fairness to him, Mikey had 2 picks in this game, and we'll see that as we go through. That being said, though, this was the kind of matchup that you like from a separation perspective, and Jameson Williams has been able to get to that point this year where, looking forward, Jameson's ability to find a matchup, and you're I don't think he can hang just as a route runner. Jameson's always been fast. He's always going to be fast. That's always an option. But the thing is, can you win on the other routes? And one thing that I remember somebody asked me this week is yo, where the shot play is going to come from? And I brought up maybe those deep outbreakers, thinking the Josh Reynolds special when he was here. And this is a Josh Reynolds special type of route, just a straight deep outbreaking route here. And he gets open, he gets separation, it's on time, and he get a big chunk play. That was what Josh Reynolds would bring to the table. And Jameson Williams has been able to kind of expand his route tree beyond. So the Lions jump up 7-0, and we get back to the defensive side here again. And this is just one of those examples where you're playing too soft in coverage, just straight up here. And this is on Terrion Arnold. And Terrion's got room to grow. He did a lot of things good. He continues to do a lot of things good just in straight man-to-man coverage. And I'm really optimistic about where this is going to go, because I think he's learned so much through the season. But situational awareness popped up, and I think an example like this, just playing too soft in coverage. You see the coaches get fired up on the sideline. Lions going into a cover 3 look here. So it's kind of a tough spot to put him in, because you're rolling your safety at the snap. So you're rolling Kirby to the center field. of course, going to roll to where there's more field typically. So because of that, you have Terrion continuing to worry about the number 2 receiver, and that's where your eyes typically set as a outside leverage cover 3 look. And as he continues to push the vertical route, tight split receivers from the slot, he has to continue to be aware of that. And as he is, he continues to give depth, and then the outbreaker happens. And even though the Lions are blitzing and they get a free rusher, the ball's out too fast. So again, this is always back to the example. It's hard to get sacks and have pressure be effective when the ball is out this fast. It's just the reality. If the ball's out that fast, it really doesn't matter. The ball's going to get out. And that's what Jaden does really well. He gets the ball out fast. Aggressive in the sense that you're playing aggressive with the blitz, and you're playing cover 3, though I don't love that it's a straight spot dropping zone. Again, issue. And then on top of all of that, you're just playing too soft in the back end. You're just giving them access, and you're allowing him to find that read. And Jaden's done that all year, where if he knows what kind of coverage it is, it's a problem. Now, I love the post-snap safety movement because there's movement there. There's trying to create some maybe indecision or slow it down. But overall, like, you're just too soft in the back end on a play like this, and you give those kind of yards up. Let's continue, though, because this would be an issue as we continue through the game. And I'm going to let this first play kind of fly through, but this would continue to be a problem for the Lions as we go through. Couple things. One, you can see the Lions in the second level are shifting the strength of their backers to where the strength of the receivers are. So here, the field side, and then also the bunch on the left side here. And when the Lions playing 2 deep safeties, they got to a spot where that aggressive play that we saw get stopped early was kind of where their answers had to come from. It was like, we have to be aggressive to get stops against run. And Washington became so consistent with, like, we're just going to run the football. You see plays like this, it kind of is like, yo, if you were playing man here, how could that help you, right? If that means you get a safety that steps down, you're playing cover 1, and then all of a sudden you can keep Jack Campbell maybe more so in the box on a play like this. Obviously, that wouldn't be 2 deep safeties, though, at that point. So when you get this kind of sweep look offensively, you're asking now your cornerback who's stepping into the box, who doesn't have anybody on his side of the field because you're playing zone coverage. He has to step into the box. You're going right at Alex, who is definitely not one of the better 2 linebackers that we have at taking on pulling offensive linemen, at dealing with stack and shed. That's not his game. So they go right at him. It's a great call. They also go at Miles Adams, who's not working over his gap. And in plays like this, like, yo, either Alex has to be better against the run and be able to get over a blocker consistently, which is probably just not realistic at all. And that's not who he is. And what are you going to do? Replace Alex? Probably not. So then it's like, okay, you then need defensive ends that are probably going to just disrupt things completely. And that was Hutchinson. Pascal did a little bit of that in this game. Or you're going to need the fact that you have to be in a different look defensively. And in this case, it's just a wrong look, and you pick up 15 yards on the play. Now, let's get to the passing attack, because this is, again, where things worked. Early in this game, you could see it. When the Lions went 2 deep coverage on first down, problems. Spot dropping zone, 2 deep coverage, problems. When the Lions went plays like this, single eye safety very quickly, negative. And again, the Lions get themselves in a position to get a stop, and we see it on a play like this. So Lions going to straight cover 3 coverage leads to a tip at the line of scrimmage, which ultimately leads to the ripple effect of incomplete, and it was man coverage. There was nothing special about this. This is what the Lions did. And I'll be honest, like I said, second down and medium, I wanted to play 2 deep coverage. Second and long, I said I would have stayed with that kind of, hey, don't give up any easy yards. And that's exactly what we see. And as the game played out, it was very clear the Lions had an answer on second down. First down, they didn't. Second down, they did. It was play man coverage. It was make them earn everything. Don't let them back into, like, all right, hey, it's 2nd and 8, but guess what? We're going to give you 5 yards on that check down. Now it's 3rd and 3. That's not the plan. If this is how you play it, though, more often than not, this is going to work in your favor, and we saw that from jump. The problem is that there was like 1 or 2 sequences where it didn't, but overall, this worked. Yes, you gave up a shot play on it. You gave up shot plays anyway. This worked in general. The problem was first down, because as you see here, going man coverage, this time on 3rd down, you get a great pass break up from Kendall Villador on this play, working across the middle of the field, even without Amik Robertson. So Villador still held his own here. You get a pass break up, you get yourself off the field. To the play before, having another incomplete pass, which was good coverage by Brian Branch on a slot fade after Iffy Melifonwu was beat in man coverage where the ball should have went, but Jaden Reynolds didn't read that. He just threw the fade, and it was great coverage by Branch. But again, that was kind of like a preview of, like, Iffy Melifonwu's man has to get better, and that's a real weakness in his game right now. It is not what you would have thought maybe coming out of college. It could be, and him matching up with tight ends is not really an advantage in our favor. It feels like it should be, but it's really not. He hasn't become like the matchup stopper against tight ends in man coverage. That development needs to happen, and we'll see if that's with us or with someone else, but you saw that in this game, especially in the critical spots like on Zach Ertz, and we'll show that later. Now, offensively, there was some beautiful play design. He knew that Washington would play these kind of match coverages. They would switch things things off in the middle of the field, and they'd be playing these single high coverages, and these are the kind of answers that were just fantastic. And you could see just anticipation, the screen to Khalif that we'll show later. It was like when he crossed the 50, they'd get that Tampa 2 when they were around those spots, and they would have answers for it. But this was a fantastic play call, and I love this. So these are kind of things that we don't see all season. So this isn't like we're just going to like, oh, we saw that, that one week, and it's like, all right, we're going to use that. Like, no, we don't really ever do things like this. And then you see it this week, and you're like, man, that's a really good play. Like, you run this fake toss, which is going to pull Bobby Wagner out of the play because it puts the attention immediately there. Then, if it's matched and two things go vertical, so the 1 and 2 go vertical, slot and outside corner get pulled. So now once you pull that backer, that is typically like, hey, if it goes vertical, obviously pass it off, but I kind of take everything in the middle of the field, I'll switch everything off, that's Bobby Wagner. Well, you pull him out of the play by running the fake toss. So now you use Laporta as a chip, and then he's just going to run a quick little curl route. And you notice he is wide open on the play. He's pulled out Bobby Wagner on the play. Now Jeremy Chin just settles back down because he's not playing that responsibility. And then once it leaks out on the play, now he's got to go chase down Sam Laporta once the ball comes out and he pick up 15 yards. That's an excellent play call. It's an excellent design to beat that type of coverage. And then we stay with it on the offensive side of the ball. And this is where we had really the biggest disaster, the thing that swung everything. The line's up 7-3, chance to continue to build on that. It's a 3rd down and 1. So at very least, you're thinking, hey, we're going for this on 4th down. We're probably going to pick it up. At worst, if it's just a sack, you're thinking it's 4th down and medium where you can kick a field goal. We can go up 7. Watch what happens on this play. And again, hindsight will be, well, you shouldn't have threw the ball. Like, I never have an issue with this. If you have a play that's there and it makes sense, I'm fine with it. Just execute the thing. Execute it. And in this case, the Lions just didn't execute it. It's a 3rd down and 1, and they're going back into that match coverage. So again, the linebacker is going to pass off the number 3 receiver, in this case, St. Brown, vertically to the free safety. And the Lions get out there on 3rd and 1, and they get immediately like, okay, that's what this coverage is going to be. So if you watch, they're trying to run the deep outbreaker with St. Brown, and they're essentially just running clear outs everywhere else. Slot fade. You get the vertical push on the opposite side as well from Khalif. They're just clearing out, and they're putting the free safety having to deal with St. Brown in the slot, who's obviously off in coverage on this play. So once St. Brown gets past the backer, he's going to break it outside, and now that free safety has all of that space that he has to deal with St. Brown alone, as he's already pulled out by the 2 vertical shots, and it's just cleared out for an easy chunk play inside the 10-yard line, potentially a touchdown if this thing is caught. The problem is, though, as he's trying to set up Bobby Wagner, he trips and falls, really just on air. He trips and falls. And now when you're Goff, you're a guy that had a really rough game on offense, was Graham Glasgow. He really struggled in this game. He was very inconsistent from what I had went through. I'm not saying that he never won reps because he did, but he was really inconsistent. Pass throw and run blocking. Obviously here he loses his block pretty quickly. So as Goff is waiting for that to happen, he then sees St. Brown stumble, and immediately it's like, okay, what's the next plan? There's nowhere else to go with the ball here. He can't throw the flat. He can't throw the slot fade. He's immediately hit. Bam, he's going down, and he loses the football. That's the one thing he can't do is lose the ball. And I'm going to show that later where that comes up again. But in this case, he falls down, ball comes out, and it's turnover. Terrible execution, and it's just an unfortunate bang where you're just hoping at very least Goff holds on to the football, and that doesn't happen. You got a lost block, you have a trip receiver, and you have Goff losing the ball, and it turns into a fumble. So a lot of, kind of just a domino effect, as I think Dan Campbell hit on after the game, that turned into that being such an awful play for us. Just one example of how they found success. 1st down and 10. Watch how they find success within the run game. Again, you're going to notice that there's 2 deep safeties on the play. So you're in zone coverage, and you have the linebackers now bumping with the motion pre-snap. So again, you can see where they're lining toward the strength of the formation in terms of where the receivers are in the 2nd level. So now when the motion comes across, they can bump back inside. So they bump back to the alignment here. So once they snap this thing, now Jack Campbell is bumped back to the backside of this play. He has to work across. And as you notice here, they're using different types of, these power setups. So in this case, they pull the center quickly. So there's the motion, boom, take Jack Campbell out of the play. Then we're going to quickly just snap the center around, down block DJ Reader, who for whatever reason kind of jumps inside. I don't know why. I think he was just trying to create a negative because he knew he was going to get down blocked. But rather than working over the block, I don't know why he was doing that. Something seemed off here. Look, since Loney has to be the guy responsible for taking on the lead and then also getting the stop on the play. And he's got that to be responsible for. He's got way too much room that he has to get a stop on. Again, because you also don't have the safety in the box to give help here. He's got way too much to deal with. Then Jack Campbell with the motion on the play, you get the read option attached, which again, if Josh Paschal is going to sit on the outside, Campbell to also get outside. You need Jack Campbell to see the lineman, scrape over and give some support. He's not doing that. He's dealing with all this eye candy. So when that ball is handed off, he's also jumping out with the quarterback, just like Paschal is. You're essentially taking 2 guys with the quarterback that really don't have any relevance. If he keeps it, Paschal should be there to help. And now you have Alex Anzalone is dealing with a ton of space on the offensive line and has to get on and off a block. They're going right at him. It's a great strategy offensively, and it's just putting us in a really bad spot. That's where I'd say coach coaching-wise, we were not in a great spot early in this game for sure, but even when the game went forward, it's just having consistent answers there to deal with the run. And then offensively, here was the first big shot play, and I said this after the game. We went live, and I was like, I didn't like this at all. I didn't like this at all. It made no sense to me. This is where they get their shot. It's 2nd down and 5. They picked up 5 yards on first down because the Lions went cover 0, and they ended up like a scramble. He picked up 5. Okay, that's fine. 2nd down and 5, as I pointed to. For me, I would have went 2 deep coverage because I'm expecting the shot play, and I would have had a blitz attached a lot of times, a fifth rusher. The Lions go cover 3. They go cover 3 on 2nd and 5. I'm like, okay, I don't understand this call really at all. And it's spot dropping cover 3. I don't love this. They just run a straight beater. They run 2 crossing routes, which is something they've done. And when you get that, Vildor gets pulled out of the play. Now, you would like to see Vildor pass this off sooner and give some support to drop back out in the play because it's what Terrion Arnold does. But the route is ran really well. He pushes inside, the breaks back outside. So it's like, oh, it's my responsibility again. So he can't drop off yet. And then by the time that thing pushes back inside, now Vildor has to stop full momentum to go help. And he's not in a position to really do that. And you have Kirby Joseph on display with the eyes of Jaden Daniels, doesn't step down and take over the crossing route. He continues to drift back, so now it sets up this huge chunk play. Brian Branch actually does a good job of getting back somewhat into the play. He actually makes the tackle and kind of saves the day. He actually wasn't in a bad spot as a spot dropper here, recognizing Jaden Daniels' eyes. He's like, he's not even looking to the flat. I got to bail. But Vildor is completely out of the play, and he gets this huge chunk. I just hate the play call in that spot to run that on that play. I mean, they shifted into this, and you could see just by our alignment, like, yeah, this probably isn't man coverage, right? You have Ife Melifonwu stepping down. You can see by who's aligned on who. Like, you have a cornerback on the tight end, probably not man. Then they shift in. You get no safety movement, so now you're, like, pretty sure this is cover 3, and that's exactly what it is, and bam, you get the massive play out of it. So, again, it's just a scheme beater, and you have a guy like Daniels. This is one of the worst examples of creating pressure with a 4-man rush, however, in this game. This was one of the worst examples, and you get that. And you didn't attach a blitz, you weren't aggressive, and you played cover 3. I just don't like that play call at all. Chance. And you get a 4th down and 3, and the Lions go cover 0 with 2 rats underneath here, okay? So they're going cover 0. They put Iffy on the slot, the number 3 receiver, and they're having 2 guys drop underneath. Now, what I don't like is our guys that drop underneath don't really find receivers that well. Hitting a spot, he's just standing there. I don't love that. I feel like he needs to be much more active at finding receivers and maybe trying to disrupt it at the line, working on to number 2 immediately. It's a really good job by the offense. They get the ball out quickly to this drag route. Trevor's in a spot, but he hesitates looking back at the quarterback and then finding the route. He hesitates to just attack the receiver and potentially make a play on the ball. So you give up kind of an easy completion. No simulated pressure happening here whatsoever. It's a straightforward 4-man rush. There's just nothing really going on here. I would have liked to seen the dry lanes drop in the zone at some point in this game on these, and they never did. I understand why you don't. It's such a short yardage, but I still would have liked to see that, and you end up giving up the first down. I give credit a lot to the offense there, but I just, again, I don't love that. And then again, as this drive continues, this is where you notice they get the defensive pass interference. The Lions made them work like crazy to get this thing in. And I'll give them credit. They handled the quarterback run pretty well. We have to give them the credit for that. You had a Jaden Daniels run that went for nothing on this play. You also had an RPO screen that they did miss, but you made them work to get this thing into the end zone. And this is where the killer was, is that 3rd down and goal, you get called for a defensive pass interference. It's inside slot, passing it off to safety, and McLaurin. Kirby gets kind of a late jump, and he gets a little bit of contact. They call PI. I still hate this call. Whatever. I'll be the only guy on an island. That's fine with me. I hate this call. I think it's whack as heck. But they call a DPI on a pass that I think is completely going to be uncatchable. But regardless, they call defense pass interference. Add, like, with Alex, who I like on this play, who actually finds the route and kind of gets into his zone here. This may not even be necessary, but I understand why you're doing it. You're switching it with the safety, and you end up giving up the first down because of simply a defensive pass interference call. It's just, the struggles that Graham Glasgow had. We did a lot of things run blocking well, but this is one of the examples. You go into that pin pull look, it doesn't work at all. Glasgow doesn't reset on this block at all. There's no reach here whatsoever. So that ends up turning into kind of a nothing. They didn't even show the play that kind of led up to this, which was a 3rd down and 3. It was a beautiful pass. It was a really good play design because, again, they were trying to match things up on a short yardage, and you took a shot play to Sate on the wheel route. Great ball, great catch. There would have been a flag anyway, and you end up getting into a position like this, and you lean into that run. The stretch runs were great. Frank Ragnow was fantastic in this game. Mahogany did a lot of good. It wasn't perfect, but he did a lot of good. But Frank Ragnow was awesome for the most part all game long. I feel bad for that dude because this is one of those games where he looked amazing, and it was like, man, I hate this, especially seeing his post-game interview. But now after that field play, 2nd and 10, and again, the Lions just seemingly have the perfect play. It's almost like they were anticipating blitz. You run a screen tunnel to Khalif Raymond. Awesome. He hit my prop. It's just that Monty didn't get in the end zone, which never happens, but it happened today. This tunnel screen to Khalif Raymond, and they're blitzing. They're in a single eye coverage. They're playing cover 3 blitz, and it's perfect timing. It's an absolute amazing timing play, and you hit Khalif, and he's got a great blocking in front of him, and he takes it down to the 2-yard line before you ultimately punch this thing into the end zone with one of the coolest plays of the year, passing the ball. I mean, this was one of the best plays that we had of the year, and I hate that it's going to get overshadowed by how this game ended. But on 1st and goal from the 2, you run the drag underneath. They're switching everything off, but in the back end, because Bobby Wagner steps down with it, and you have Luvu drop out and also take it, you get Laporta that opens up in the back of the end zone. Goff quickly works through his progression, says 1, 2, doesn't like the underneath pass there to Skipper, of course, doesn't like Zylster dragging the middle and kind of the mesh setup there, so he knows immediately to get to the back of the end zone to Laporta, and he does that. He avoids the pressure. Again, Graham Glasgow loses his block here, avoids the pressure, and just gives his man a chance, and this was a very gutsy type of throw to trust that this was going to be open by the way that you read through the reads here, and he put it out there, and Laporta made one of the best grabs of the season, gave you the big spike at the end. He had the Gronk spike for the big brace on. I loved it. It was amazing. This was an amazing play across the board. It stinks that this wasn't in a win, because this would get so much more talk, and it deserves. There was a couple plays that deserved it, but this was an amazing play where you give up your 58-yard touchdown. And the problem is, these is where you had the couple of examples of Lions actually being aggressive on 1st down and it turning into a disaster. But this was the game coming into it. I think if the Lions played this from jump, it would have been maybe worked itself out even better, because the problem is I don't think they played the game from the get-go that they eventually adjusted into, which was great adjustments, but I don't think they played that game throughout. And it was like, I was willing to lean on, like, hey, be aggressive on 1st down, right? Don't give them easy access. And if they're going to give us with big plays left and right, so be it. But I don't think they're going to have enough big plays. I thought they'd get a couple, but to outnumber the amount of plays that we could also make, and the problems that we could get them into if 1st down just wasn't successful. I still don't necessarily love this play, because again, you're putting yourself in that same boat where now Jack Campbell jumps into the slot, they're bunching it out wide, and you have 2 deep safeties again. I don't love the 2 deep safeties. You bring the blitz, which I'm cool with the aggression here, and yeah, you get outnumbered on the play. You still had a chance to make it. I still feel that if Amik's out here on this play, maybe we do make this play. Maybe you do make this happen. And if on this play you're running a cover 3 blitz, which is possible that they are playing kind of a, hey, this is single high coverage, and it just so happens that we got aggressive. We try to use the post-snap safety movement, which I anticipated was going to happen in our preview. I said we're going to see a lot of post-snap safety movement, and it got the best of us here. I'm not going to kill this play. I don't hate it necessarily. Obviously, the numbers just don't work out there, but I think we had a chance. But I don't hate it because I don't hate the aggression on 1st down. Coming into the game, I really never looked at the aggression as it meant it had to be a blitz, but I did look at it as it has to be types of coverage where we're not giving airspace, right? That's man coverage. That's match coverage on 1st down. That's single high safety constantly. That's the kind of thing that I thought that we would probably do on 1st down. So blitzing was something that I think helped because our run defense was so shaky. So they were trying to create negatives and not just let them lean on the 1st down. And that's why watching it back, I'm okay with that kind of assumption, like we might have to blitz to get some help here. But I do think even just by alignment, they potentially could have helped themselves even more than setting in these 2 deep safety looks. I understand that makes it a little bit more straightforward, but it could have helped them from a consistency spot, especially if they just played matchups a little bit more often. Let's go to, of course, one of the worst plays of the game offensively, and this is also why I think some of the issues defensively got even more so like spotlighted, because again, we didn't pick ourselves up, because then offensively we had too many turnovers to kind of like, hey, there's a balancing act there. There was no balancing act on both sides of the ball. It's why we couldn't get over the hump once we fell behind in this game. It felt like the entire time, and this was one of those examples. You get a pick 6. We don't even give ourselves a chance here, but you know, who knows, may have just taken off more clock anyway. You get this pick 6. And this was the worst probably interception I think from Goff in the game by far. That being said, I can understand how it plays out. First thing is you're running a deep dig route here to Tim Patrick. And this is one of those spots where, again, you set yourself up poorly. On 1st down, you come out with a false start. Now you're backed up. You can't have those. You just can't. You're starting quarterback. You're at home. Why do you have false starts? You have false starts, first 15. Okay, so on 1st down, you run a sweep play, which I liked coming in. That goes for nothing, but the play gets held up way too long. Again, you get a blown block there. For me, on that play, it was Graham Glasgow. Tampa 2 defensively here, and they have this big, deep out route underneath. They have the settle down route underneath here by Sam Laporta. Wherever he's going to point to, just throw it to Sam Laporta. So with that, you have this outside cornerback that's playing the in-between game. And this is where on a play like this, he's playing a little bit aggressive. He squeezes the receiver inside, so he's in kind of an aggressive spot right here for Goff to throw that pass. But on this point, because it's not like a deep curl route and it's an in-breaker by Tim Patrick on the play, and again, I think that they probably disguised this pretty well from maybe what was expected pre-snap versus what you actually got. Goff read the coverage, but I don't know that they had the exact right play for what they were getting coverage-wise. This was going to be a tight window throw because of Goff's adjustment to the coverage that he ultimately got. I mean, you're getting a Tampa 2 that's inverted here. Your outside corner Sanders still becomes your deep safety because you get this adjustment and it's not maybe the perfect beater. So Goff on the play has to anticipate if he's going to make this throw, he has to make this throw early. Goff essentially has to throw this ball as soon as Patrick turns around, because if he waits for Patrick to start moving, there's not going to be a window anymore. But if he throws before Patrick turns around and he breaks it off into the middle of the field, then where is Patrick going to be versus where the ball is? So he's got to throw this. This ball needs to come out of his hand as soon as Patrick makes this break. And Patrick has some good awareness here where he starts to kind of pedal down his route. He's not like making this a sharp in-breaker. He's settling down into the zone. But this has to be like perfect timing, because he essentially has to pull back Tim Patrick into the play, right? This ball has to come out. He can't wait for him to continue to work across the middle because it's just not going to be there. So he's got to put this ball out with anticipation, like, okay, I've made my mind. I see Laporta. I can see that this is Tampa 2. I'm going to try to fit this tight window between the safety who's super deep on the play. I'm going to try to fit this into that tight window. Now, he has to put it high, because you also see that the problem is the strength of the formation is where he's throwing this ball, which means that you're going to get the Tampa 2 linebacker to fly over to the strength of the formation on this play. That's what he does. So it makes the window even tighter, because now he still has an underneath defender in Igbenogany that he has to worry about, and he's the problem. That guy forces Goff to push it high. He forces you to put touch on this ball if you're going to fit to that window, unless it's like a deep curl or something, or it's an out that breaks back down, because then Goff can snap it and try to fit it into a tight window and you can throw it back. But because he's breaking inside, Goff has to throw this thing early and he has to put it up, because that guy's going to be underneath and the route is not going this way, it's going that way, right towards Igbenogany. So it's probably an unnecessary risk, but you also do understand it, because he feels like if he checks this down, maybe you only get a few yards. I would have checked it down in hindsight, yes. Push the cornerback, take the check down, pick up 4 or 5 yards, let's live for 3rd down and 7. And Goff probably would have said I should have done it in hindsight too, because that's typically how Goff plays, and I praise him for that. So it's probably just doing too much. That's a lot to ask of a throw, because it's not like Goff can like, okay, I'm going to throw it early, but I'm going to throw it just like really high so you can adapt to it. Like, no, I got to put it up, but I also have to throw it early. And those two things are really tough to make happen. And Goff tried to make that happen. He just put a little bit too much. He went over the guy's head and he threw an interception. It's a bad decision ultimately in hindsight. I love the aggression from the jump that Goff entered this game with. I love that he wasn't like timid to make a play, especially with defensively some of the issues that we had. But overall, yeah, we shouldn't have made that throw. It turns into a pick. I think that was the worst interception by far that we had on today. But we still had an opportunity to get back from that. And we did, with Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. I still think this is one of the gutsiest drives of the year. Same people that are not a fan of Ben Johnson after the game are the same people that hated that we had too much creativity. It's like, what are we talking about, man? Yes, we're an aggressive team. Yes, there's times that you don't love the play call, and that happens with every team. But this team is prepared, and this team's trick plays work a lot, and it's always going to come back down. It typically comes back down to the Lions not being ill-prepared, but rather than offensively, just not executing the play. And this was an amazing play that helped give us that life that we needed, because again, the next time you get out there, you get a false start. I blame that more on being a backup quarterback, but you can't have false starts at home. Gibbs then brings you back to life. He picks up 14 yards on a duo run when you're back in business, and you run a reverse that turns into a touchdown. So you get your big play with, you're not sure where Goff is Goff going to come back, and you get your big play through reverse, and it works up beautifully, and it's a counter pull fake that turns into a reverse, and it turns into an amazing touchdown. But it was this dual play that we saw along the way that helped to set this up, and you could see the block right behind that right side. Mahogany's just driving his man out of the play right behind Payne. I love what J-Mo does here. He shoots inside and steps in front of 2 defenders on this play. You allow the cutback on the backside here with a little combo from Graham, but specifically hitting the second level, and this thing just opens wide open behind Frank Ragnow. I mean, those guys were just money. Mahogany was money, and you get this huge play, and boom, you're off to the races, and then you set up the reverse off of that. So it was a great 2-play sequence. It was gutsy as heck, and I love seeing that. Gibbs was fantastic in this game. Fantastic. If there's a guy that's development throughout the season you can visually look at, like Terrion and guys like that, it's Jahmyr Gibbs. This guy's got so much better as a receiving back. He's kind of the guy that I thought we'd get out of Alabama. It just took time. That's okay. Guys develop. It's not about what is he year one. It's about what is he through that rookie deal. And he's developed into, he is an elite. He's turning into an elite pass catcher. And as a run rusher, we're seeing, okay, there's bumps. We saw bumps against Minnesota, but he was fantastic. And that big playability is way overriding the things that are kind of bumpy along the way at this point. Things are really unfortunate because this next drive, we're going to show the play, getting into the end zone here. But things that led up to this, second down, the Lions' ability to just play man coverage and not give up easy access, found a ton of success as this game rolled along on second down. They found a ton of success, but it, of course, had its drawbacks. You're going to give up things, and one big play in this game was from that. They played the cover one blitz. Now, it wasn't one of those plays where, that's probably going to happen a lot, where they took the big, deep post shot, and they end up getting Kirby Joseph, Terrion Arnold just couldn't keep up speed-wise on a play like that. They brought the blitz. It led to pressure on the play. That's the kind of world that you wanted to live in throughout the game. And that was an example where they they ended up taking advantage of that. But when you look at the results throughout, it was a couple of scrambles. You had the one cover 0 play late where it was Mo Norris trying to cover Zach Ertz, and he was late to get out there, didn't really make a play on the ball. But that found real success, and it found sustainability. It was just had like, okay, there's that one big play attached, which really stinks. There's that one big play attached to kind of playing this kind of coverage. But again, that was the world that I was willing to live in. Like, yo, make them earn everything. And they earned it on that big play to get down there. But another play that helped them get down there was this 8-yard run to set things up. And this is what I was talking about. So again, now here's an example of the Lions against that bunch wide. But you notice on the play where now Ife Melifano was in the box. So in this case, they're now rolling down their safety. The problem is it's clarification of coverage, of course, because now we know they're in a cover 3 look. And you can see that with Jack Campbell, because of how they were playing it, not playing man, but playing a spot dropping zone, which I didn't like. When they're playing the spot dropping zone, look at what it does. Now Jack Campbell's out in the slot. Jack Campbell's settling in the slot to lean towards the strength of the formation of the second level being the receivers on the play. But now because that Iffy becomes the player in the box. So they're putting Iffy in the box in a spot like this, as well as Alex Anzalone and Terrion Arnold. This is not the best guys to stop the run here. Something had to change. So I love the fact that there was an extra body, but I hate the fact that it was Ife Melifano who's stepping into the box. And if you watch him on the backside, they're using so many different pullers, and it became a problem because even our backers would be delayed. I'll show later example where Alex got in on the play. He was a little bit late, but he was about as fast as you could play it. But the amount of different pullers from different spots became a real problem. And I had seen things like that with Washington with their split zones and then their tight ends. You didn't know who they were going to take out, and it would leave crazy run lanes. They are really good at doing that. And in this case, we've seen him pull the center. Now watch him pull the backside right tackle. And watch what it does to Iffy. Iffy doesn't scrape over top, just stepping down into his gap. And he presses his gap. And when he does that, you notice on the backside here, there's no scrape over top from anybody. So when Alex now once again is isolated with hey, you got to deal with the puller and you got to make a play on the running back, there's no support that he's given there until the guy's 8 yards downfield and if he does get into the play. And now Jack Campbell's standing in no man's land, your best defender. He's standing in the slot on the play, giving support because you're playing cover 3. It doesn't make any sense. This was the kind of thing that was frustrating to look back on. I'll live with this 37 whatever yard shot play on a cover 1 post. Whatever, I can give you that. That's the kind of thing that's frustrating. This is where the Lions kind of got beat at their own game. Now, again, I didn't like the flag earlier. That being said, though, they end up punching this thing into the end zone. One-on-one with Ife Melifonwu. They give up the touchdown at Zach Ertz. And this was a 3rd down and goal from the 5. And the Lions had set this up again by playing good coverage in the back end. 1st down and goal, it was a read by the quarterback. It was a power run. Jack Campbell ends up getting the stop. There's a couple of yards there. Then on 2nd and goal, the Lions play cover 1. Fantastic across the board. Vildor does a good job. Terrion does a really good job. You get pressure by DJ Reader. That pass is thrown away. Now 3rd and goal. And again, this is where I give them a lot of credit because part of it is Ertz has become that guy for them, and maybe it's just a bad matchup. And I think some of the ways it was kind of the same thing against Buffalo. There's certain matchups covering tight ends is not our best. And we don't have a great matchup in that case. We were so depleted that linebacker Alex wasn't in the game. And in this case, now it's Iffy. When Branch, the play before, was matched up on the tight end, we took him away with inside help. Now you get Iffy matched up, and they kind of clear it out so he's one-on-one without inside help. There's no someone's going to step down and take it away. He's just got to play him straight up here. He gets beat on an end breaker to give up a touchdown. That's where development needs to happen, and you have to tip your cap to Washington because offensively, they're finding the guys to go at. Everybody has weaknesses, and they're doing a great job exploiting what the weakness is. Just like we did on the opposite side, we just had the turnovers. They didn't have those types of turnovers because we had more answers. The Lions started to go to, we're going to make them earn these routes. We're going to make them get open and make that throw. And yeah, while there was some downside, there was a lot more success rates. It was this is working out pretty well. And we have more answers in general. But it just didn't happen, I think, fast enough. And I think that kind of run play speaks to that. Battled back into this game, and this was the interception we had before half. Bad interception, right? Now, there's a lot of things. Again, this is always a ripple effect of things that go down the line. First off, Lions are getting cover 4, which they had basically gotten the entire drive up to this point. Cover 4 in this 2-minute drill. An alert for cover 4 typically is if I know it's cover 4, this is a beater. I run the deep in route and I run the deep post on top. This is not a bad decision. This is right away you see this and you're yeah, that's where we want to go. They called it, there was a timeout before this and they flipped the receivers and they went to this route. So this was an easy beater. It was you should throw this pass if you're a quarterback. So pre-snap, this makes a ton of sense to make this decision. Penei Sewell gets beat on his block very quickly. And as you're going to see, when Goff hits his back foot, he steps up into the pocket on the play and the safety steps down, one-on-one with J-Mo out wide. He then has to step up and he carries the ball to make sure I'm not fumbling this thing. That's not punched out, but it slows down the pass. Goff doesn't have the strongest arm where he's just going to fire that thing in there. That thing has to be on time. So it slows down the process of the ball actually coming out before he gathers and puts it up. Now the receiver's looking at him by the time he's going into that throwing motion to put it out there. So again, this is where I I don't love a lot of things about this. One, it is late, right? You get the blown block, it's late on the play because it leads to that ripple effect. The decision is fine. It's the right read based on the coverage, no doubt. Maybe we just go somewhere else because it's too late. But what I would like to see here is I would like to see my receiver also helping me out of a bad situation. Just make any play on the ball. Just do anything to make a play on the ball here to help us try to make this a incomplete pass. Because this wasn't like, and I thought it was, Saber still wasn't ever really beat on this play. Like, watching it live, I didn't know what coverage they were in. So I thought, yeah, he's beat. There's no middle field help, and he's behind him. He probably beat him. But watching it back, it's like, no, they're just in cover 4. He's not really beat. Yeah, he's in outside leverage, but he's in outside leverage from the jump. The beater is the coverage. The beater is there's no safety on the inside. The beater isn't that he's on the inside. That's how the coverage is played out as an outside corner. So he's playing it perfectly. He's on the outside hip. And J-Mo knows he's on the outside hip. You can see him there. He's not running past him. It's not like the guy was underneath and then he jumped in front of him. It's like, where did he come from? He's sitting outside of you. So as a receiver, I would just like to see in this play, the cornerback slow down to play the ball. Wide receiver, slow down to play the ball. Like you have to have an adjustment ability, I think, there to feel that and see, like, yo, this ball's not going to get where it's supposed to be. Don't just run through the route. Slow down and just do anything to make a play on the ball here. So, again, it was late, no question. I would like to see him make a play on the ball. Thing that I think that, again, this is a development spot, and it's been like this all year. It's understanding kind of the coverage, understanding, like, yo, there's no one in the middle field. This is cover 4. Feeling that coverage out and understanding there's no help. Where is the guy? He's on the outside shoulder. Why? Because of the coverage that they're in. That could help you potentially go above and beyond the X's and O's. Go above the script to be like, I'm just going to fire back and try to punch this ball out, slow down, make some play on the ball. He just runs through the route like the ball's going to be right there. And it's not. And Sainer still runs the route, adapting and tracking the football while the ball's in the air. So to his point, he shouldn't have thrown that pass, right? He shouldn't have thrown that ball. I understand why he did. That's the matchup that we like coming in. That's the coverage for it, but he shouldn't have thrown it. And I personally struggle to get too upset about plays like this when it's a coverage beater. And these are the kind of explosives that Goff has created where he's decisive and he's going to let that ball go. But here is like an example where it's just being overly aggressive beyond maybe even what his skill set is. Yes, it's a coverage beater. And yes, they've given you cover 4 over and over. And everything's aligning as Jameson, the connection they built where he's caught touchdowns that weren't even open. And then you had a Minnesota interception. It's like, yeah, that may have been a result of some of those touchdowns that we threw that weren't really open. You get plays like this, just maybe going and doing a little bit too much. And it's just unfortunate that when you tie that as well as all the other mistakes that we had in this game, you couldn't overcome that by just having a couple of explosives. He did. He let that thing fly. He was definitely playing aggressive. He was not holding back. There was no doubt about that. Indoor, that dude was letting it rip, but it turned out it worked against us on that play. We're actually going to see another example where Sainer still takes one away and it works against us. Now, back to this run game for them offensively. You watch the aggression here. Bring Brian Branch. Zadarius does a good job setting the edge here, and it turns into a tackle for loss. That aggression led to really the only responses. And then that led to an ability to play man coverage in the back end. And look at how well this works out, man. And this was with a blitz attached. You bring Jack Campbell. It's just really good coverage across the board. In this case, it's not flipped. Terrion's at the bottom of the screen working with McLaurin. He's jamming him at the line. It's good coverage. It's great coverage across the board here. There's nowhere to go. He scrambles for no gain on the play. Sticking with the man coverage. Look at it again. This is excellent coverage. This is another pass breakup. This was the first drive and a half. We're down by 10. You're thinking this thing can get away from you. It's great coverage again. Watch Terrion on the top of the screen. One-on-one. Sits on top of the route. Settles down. He got beat really one time, the vertical shot, and then also he got beat on a deep curl in man coverage because he didn't really slow down on the top of the route. There's bad pacing. He breaks it off. This is really good pacing. He settles underneath it, nearly came up with an interception. This is the game that you needed to make them play. And I just don't think that was the plan coming in. I think it got to that, and it was a great adjustment. But even for me, like, yo, on second down, if you would have came in with this, I think you just would have had better results throughout. This was the game that you had to make them play. And then again, the run defense, it doesn't connect consistently enough. You get that stop, we score a touchdown, and it wasn't a perfect drive or any mean, but I like this playthrough. I threw it in here. A cover 3 buzz look, right? So they're going right into a spot dropping zone, and I love this because you're running a clear out on one side, and again, you're just putting Bobby Wagner right in the action. You put Bobby Wagner in the action, you run the clear out behind it, and you're making Bobby Wagner chase guys. I love the ball placement here. It's down and away from Bobby. It allows catch after run after catch on a 3rd down and 10. That's a crucial 3rd down that we picked up. And even on a play like this, I just spotlight it because this is the kind of thing that Ben and this offensive staff does. That goes overlooked because when a play is not a result, sometimes we don't notice things. This is Tampa 2 drop again defensively, inverted Tampa 2. You're going to notice in the back right here, St. Brown sitting open. That route, we couldn't get to it again because of blown block, on this play, gave a pass pro. This is one of the losses that Mahogany had. But at the same time, the design was there. Those unique routes where he's breaking out into a corner, then he settles down into a post, and he breaks it back down and snaps it off. To find those little windows means that you have to know what the coverage is getting to. So we saw earlier, Goff probably made a throw that wasn't the expected coverage, and he was trying to do too much. This is one of those plays where it's the perfect route for that coverage. It just so happens that the ripple effect, you lose the block, ball has to get out faster, and Gibbs can't hold on to a low pass, and it's incomplete. So it's just an awesome route, and it shows you their awareness of what they're going to get. And then you come back with one of my favorite plays of the year. This might be my favorite play of the year if we would have won. Like, this was an amazing play call. We've seen the fake toss. They've done this little flip to the back. Now they do it. Everybody's pursuing over top. Bobby Wagner, and then you run a shovel pass to St. Brown. This is one of the most nasty plays I've seen all year. All the attention will be the pick. It throws an interception. Yeah, one of the 5 didn't work, but this was amazing. This was an amazing play call. 20 yards on the play, set us up to get into the end zone. And we're going to show that pick here in a second, but I thought that was just an amazing play call to pick up 20 yards, and I had to throw it in here. And again, defensively, this was not something that I had talked about coming in, but it was a really cool play. And I thought they started to find answers in the back end. This was a smart coverage play. I got to point that out. So you get this motion across, turns into a 2x2, and the Lions, again, first down to 10 here, are going 2 deep safeties, but they're not showing it. They're showing single high safety, which I love. It's a different look. It's post-snap movement. And they're ultimately going to go cover 6, but they're almost giving you like a cover 4 palms. Not your cover 4 spot drop. They're giving you like a palms cover 4, which almost matches everything, because what it does is, as you see on the bottom here, as that number 2 breaks out, the outside corner, we did this against the Colts, has to step down and take that away. Then Terrion has to get over top. So it's like a palms look. Instead of giving them an easy access on a cover 4, they're running cover 4 palms with a cover 2 on the backside, which takes away perfectly the vertical look. It's an amazing coverage across the board on first 10, forces a scramble, and he picks up a yard. Like, it was a good adjustment. It was a really good adjustment, which really killed us. 2nd and 9, I told you the man coverage was working. This is one of the scrambles that didn't. Cover 1 blitz here. And you're going to see that he's just going to take off Daniels. They slide protection, so they're prepared, it seems like, for pressure, because they're sliding protection right. Rush is coming from the left, so we're after him, right? We're after him on this play. But you notice the Lions run a stunt on the backside, and Za'Darius is actually going to take the back because they don't have a guy over there. Look at how it is lined up pre-snap. There's nobody lined up over the running back. So somebody's got to take him if it's man coverage. And in this case, Za'Darius takes him. Well, that leads to just a really bad timing and Jaden making something improvising on the play, because when he takes the back, now you have no edge contain. You're asking a stunt to get back out there.
And I tend to think a play like this was more credit to Washington. I think they did a really good job with the snap count. When they were able to get a tell of when the Lions were showing blitz versus when they actually snapped it, there was a pause. And a play like this where the Lions were trying to overload a side, let Za'Darius take the back, that way they could overload a single side, essentially cut the field in half. It made a ton of sense, and of course that's where the stunt plays in. But you can see Washington was seemingly pretty prepared. I mean, they had a little bit of a slide protection going on the left side. And the right side didn't play it out exactly. It was kind of just a straight pass set. But I guess that's potentially to just deal with what could happen on that side with the stunt, to pick that up if that is the case. So the preparation was there, and I think they did a great job pre-snap by getting the Detroit Lions to show when they were blitzing and who was blitzing on the play. And there was a lot of examples like this where everybody was kind of stacked up and just waiting to go. And it was like, okay, they can have a really good response because of what they see pre-snap.
If you're going to have 4 interceptions, you're going to have 4 turnovers, you can't have bad flags. You get a DPI in the end zone, and you get a 15-yard tacked onto this. It's first down and 10. And yeah, it's going to be a 6-yard run again, which stinks. Part of that is because, again, watch Terrion. Terrion's not setting the edge. I don't know what he's doing. He's jumping inside of the puller. Dude, you got to set the edge here. He doesn't. So that happens. Alex works over top, helps us make a stop. But to make this worse, you then get attached a 15-yard penalty they throw on Pascal for hitting the quarterback, who was constantly involved in the run. I, again, hate this flag, especially when you don't give Goff a flag on the pick 6. Whatever. The flags didn't beat us. But this is the kind of thing where when you have those little things, they pile up. Every little thing starts to matter in a game like this when you're trying to work your way back and you have things like that happen. Terrion stepping into the box. As soon as they go pistol and offset left, Terrion steps into the box. They make their adjustment. The problem is again, Terrion Arnold doesn't get on the edge now once he steps into the box. So this was a good adjustment by them. We kept doing this. We kept having our cornerback step inside. Now Jack Campbell's over to slot, 2 deep safety. Lions, I love the adjustment. They're now rolling out of it. They're saying, okay, we're bringing a safety down. We could be aggressive on the backside. I love that adjustment. But now Washington makes another tweak, and they're like, okay, let's go a sweep off it, because now you're settling that cornerback in. We want to make him set the edge. We just saw a play before he can't set the edge. So let's make him set the edge. And that's a problem for a cornerback to get out top, and he doesn't set the edge, and it turns into a medium gain that Alex makes on over top. But again, it turns into a 6-yard pickup rather than a negative or a 2-yard gain, it's 6 yards, and it's just too consistent. The positive of what the Lions were doing in coverage is this. It's that, hey, if you're going to cheat to the strength of the receivers, and they're going trips on this play, and Jack Campbell settling into slot against 2 deep safeties, is you're going to have that extra body to help you stop these tunnel screens. And I'm sure that was the game plan coming in, is that this is what we'd be able to do, and they'd be able to take that away, and in this case, they took it away. So it's one of those examples where it actually worked out of what the Lions were trying to do. It's an opportunity, right? You make a good play on first down, it's a loss of 1, Branch gets off a block, but then on 2nd and 11, you give up 6 yards. You can't give up 6 yards on 2nd and 11. The play call isn't the problem, it's execution, as we say. Terrion, make a stop in space, misses a tackle in space, it's 6 yards. This should be 2 yards, it's 6, now it's 3rd and 6. That can't happen, and we let it happen. So again, much as I want to hate on the play call, I don't love it, like be aggressive, I get it, 2nd and 11, hey, let's make it 3rd down and 8. Okay, we haven't been in that spot a lot, that makes sense to me. You miss a tackle in space, that's not going to happen. Opportunity to get a stop at the goal line. What plays out? Well, you weren't switching anything. This is one of the adjustments I would have made. I don't know why they weren't switching anything in man coverage. Short yardage, I would have went zone at least once. I would have showed man and went zone. They never did that. We never really got to our simulated pressure bag because of that. But also, we didn't switch anything. I thought you had to switch everything. I said in my preview, you can check it, I said, I think you have to switch everything. They switched like nothing. And this one turned into like a natural switch because the play just went on so long. They run a run pass option where Terrion starts to step down with his receiver, and it turns into a flat route. So it naturally, you kind of switched it off just because of where he was. Terrion makes a great tackle in space. We got him right where we wanted. It's an opportunity to get off the field, and too many men on the field. And you can see it because they have 2 receivers on the field, and you have a 3rd defensive back in Stanley. He's a 3rd defensive back. There's no reason that you have a 3rd corner on the field. Obviously, it's a new guy that stepped into a role because of injuries. He's out there right now, and he shouldn't be out there. And on coaching, Dan Campbell took the blame. You can't have this happen, man. This is going to be a 4th down and 2. Even though we've been terrible, that's who we are. We are the team that gets stops there. And this was the dagger because if you get the stop here, you have life, essentially. You don't get the stop here on a 4th and 2. They shouldn't be going for this. They should be, and who knows, maybe they don't snap it. I assume they do. But you get a stop here, it changes everything. Everything changes with the stop here, right? You get the ball back. You're down by 3. Feeling really good with how we've ran the ball. And you got too many men on the field. They get the first down. They're going to punch it in. You gave them too many cracks at the apple, and that's just little things that popped up. And, you know, sometimes injuries start to lean into that happening when guys start getting involved that aren't typically playing. And it's unfortunate, but everything matters. And then offensively, you get a great start to your next drive. You still have life. There's 12 minutes left, right? You still have life, but you got to score this drive. Not because of not great play calling. Again, I showed the match coverage. They overload one side of the field. They're playing right back into their cover 3 look, so the Lions do that. They pull Bobby Wagner out, and then on the backside, they run the chip, and they delay the release of Patrick. Then Goff can come back to and hit it. Now everybody's peeled out on the play because the cornerback has now left after he saw the inbreaker. There's nobody on that side of the field. Patrick picks up like 22 yards. It's an amazing play call. It's a great effort after the catch, but then you throw an interception. And again, say don't put JMO in that spot. I think that's a very fair critique. Don't put him in that spot. But a lot of the tricks had worked to this point. I get it. I completely understand not putting him in that spot. He shouldn't have made the throw. He knows that he shouldn't have made this throw because it wasn't there. The play call, I think, was good on paper. Sainer still played it well. And sometimes that's what it is. Like, I'm going to show you because what they're doing defensively is they're playing Tampa 2 again. So what the Lions do is they clear it out. So right as soon as they get to midfield, they're expecting Tampa 2, I guess. So they go Tampa 2 defensively, and they're going at Tampa 2. And they clear it out. The one guy that can make the stop is Sainer still. And with Gibbs releasing vertically, he's in an in-between game. He either has to carry it, and the idea is JMO can take off, which they can't because they contain it well, or he drives down on Jamison because they had already seen a reverse. Sainer still plays with a lot of football intelligence, and he says, I'm taking this route. You handle that. I'm not going to let him get behind me. And he does. If Sainer still bites, this is a touchdown. He doesn't bite. So worst case, you got to throw it away. He tries to make the play, and he throws an interception. Stinks that we were in that mode where we can't overcome something like that. A bad mistake on a cool play that could have been there. Hey, they made a good play. We made a bad mistake, but we couldn't overcome it because we made too many mistakes. We had too many of the mental errors. If you force an incomplete pass on 4th and 2, that happens. You're still in the game. So you work because also, like for example, the defense couldn't get off the field when they got thrown back on the field. And we'll show one more example of how this run defense, 2 more examples how it really killed us. The gap scheme was a killer. And watch how they're pulling it. They're doing it so smart. Now they run a trap. They're running a mini trap here with their guard and their center, so they're going to pull their guard. So what does that do to the backside? Jack Campbell doesn't see a polar across. Typically, if he's going to have a polar across, he's going to scrape over top so he can help us. He can keep us from getting outnumbered. He doesn't even see the pull across.
See how on the backside it causes an issue because it looks like the zone scheme from the right guard and right tackle on this play. And with that, Jack Campbell plays the quarterback on the outside and you get the crash from the defensive end rather than a scrape over top if it was, say, the right guard pulling where he could read through that and make that adjustment. Instead, everybody plays like zone on the backside versus where it's actually going. It turns into an overwhelmed Alex Anzalone. The best shot they may have had on a play like this, as everybody steps down into their gap, is that you have DJ Reader who's able to play over top of the left guard on this play. And if Alex Anzalone can get the outside shoulder towards the outside gap on the pulling offensive lineman and Tyler Biotish here, rather than on the inside, you potentially could create a stop between DJ Reader and Alex Anzalone. But
Alex Anzalone actually recognizes the puller on this play. He sees the right tackle pull across. He recognizes it, and because he recognizes it, he helps us and scrapes over top. And this was the kind of thing that we needed all game long, is someone to do that. And in this case, with a safety in the box, a more aggressive approach, they pick up 5 yards. Not great, but that would have worked much better than 8 yards. And that was the kind of thing that we just couldn't get right until an example like that where it was better. And then to cap it all off, we're not switching anything. And I don't understand this. You get a missed throw on the first time, so it works out well. They try to run a rub route. And then on 4th and goal, we're still not switching anything. We drop out 2 guys in the rats, but we don't switch anything. And if we would have switched this, you might have a chance right here. When Branch gets pushed upfield, if he drops off and takes it and Vilder steps over top, this thing's not open. But we're not switching anything. They just ran essentially rub routes. I love the rats dropping underneath different spots. You don't know who's rushing. But at the same time, I think this is one of those games where Minnesota, you didn't have to switch. This game, you had to switch, and it was noticeable. So I had some critiques of what we did. I thought too late we got to some of the aggressiveness. We didn't get to some of the straight man/match coverage early enough, which was what I wanted to do coming in against this team, and it really yielded some good results. We just didn't get to it fast enough. So there was things I liked, things I didn't like. That's usually going to be the case. But overall, it's the run defense that just didn't happen fast enough. And if there's something that we truly need to get better at this offseason, gap scheme killed us. And when we were in 2-deep safety, we could not stop the run the way we stopped the run. Coming into, I think it was coming into this game, or maybe it was before the Minnesota game, we had allowed 5.6 yards per carry when we were in 2-deep safety. When we were in single high safety, it was somewhere like 3.3. It's a very big difference. Now, some of that is inflated because the pass down, you run it, that kind of thing, but that's a huge difference. And that's something the Lions will have to look at and say, we got to get better. Where do you get better? I don't think it's an interior defensive line issue. I think depth could help because we could get more people movers, but Reader did a good job. Levi's done a pretty solid job. You know, we saw that teams, they weren't going inside zone until they got to the 2-yard line. They were running gap scheme because we weren't handling it well between our backers. So either we need our backers to be better, and I don't think they're replacing Jack because he's played really well, or Alex Anzalone. They need a better plan in those spots. And again, as much as Glenn has grown over the years, that's one of those spots where I think he's going to look and say, we have to be better. And we haven't gotten killed by that in the past. Now we are. Every team adapts. Every team evolves. That's the next step for us. We have to be better in those spots. And the same thing with the defense, because once you get to the week, it's too late. And then at the defensive ends, we could be better there. Hutchinson would have helped us. I think Pascal did a solid job, but those were the only 2 that felt like they were at very least collapsing down, at least pressing things together a little bit for us.
And in fairness, just on a side note, that's where you miss even a guy like Pat O'Connor. His ability to play defensive tackle allows Levi to go to DN. Then you have Pascal and Levi at DN. You can collapse maybe a little bit more often, or even with Zedarius, or even the flip side, even if Pat O'Connor goes to DN. Like, you missed your depth that you typically have in a game like this, or Pat O'Connor at nose tackle being able to jump gaps upfield. We didn't really have that piece necessarily, so it's like, okay, we can split gaps, but who can actually get the play in the backfield? We didn't really have a nose tackle like that without having Pat. And when those zone runs did come to life, typically they felt like they were attacking Levi in those spots. The combo blocks that could push Levi out of the spot, where typically that'd be a Lee McNeil, and I didn't think that was as consistent as an issue, but that would show up in goal line sets specifically. A couple of times you felt Levi getting moved off the ball, so you just missed some of that depth that you would typically have for sure.
Offensively, the plan I thought was fantastic. We did a lot of things good. We did what we had to offensively outside of the turnovers to win this game. And it wasn't a game plan thing for me. I thought the game plan was fantastic. We just didn't execute enough. And we made some just bad decisions. And then when you throw bad decisions in with a defense that's really struggling to get us off the field and we're killing time of possession, we don't complement each other whatsoever. That's the result that you end up with. Bad flags, everything, all the mistakes that we had at different spots of the season all kind of accumulated into this game. And I give credit to Washington because they had a really good game plan coming in and they stuck to who they were and they won with who they were. We didn't make them uncomfortable. And that's a problem at home, is that we didn't make them uncomfortable. So overall, like I said, I try to take the emotion out of this video, just what happened. That's what I think happened. We can visit this thing again, break more things down from this one, expand on what do we need this offseason. We'll do all that. But for now, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you, Prep, for watching, and I'm out.